welcome to the Jeff Buller Show. Today I have with me Kyle Stout. Now, Kyle is the founder of Elevate and Scale, which is a leading digital marketing agency that helps seven-figure product-based entrepreneurs elevate their brand and scale their growth, especially in the e-commerce space. Kyle is an authority on how leveraging email marketing can vastly increase revenue by improving customer retention, increasing average order value, and driving repeat purchases. So Kyle started his career in digital marketing back in 2013 as a freelance copywriter, where he honed his skills in brand storytelling and email marketing. Once he developed a set of frameworks that worked across different niches, he started Elevate and Scale in 2019, specializing in email marketing for e-commerce businesses. So welcome to the show, Kyle. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So Kyle, quite often our journeys are not a straight line, much as everyone draws them as that. But so let's go back to what you initially were doing. You did an economics degree, and why did you do an economics degree? Was that because if mum and dad said it was a good idea? Was it you just liked the sound of the name? What made you get into economics?
So I always had an interest in marketing, and I was in the marketing program, and this is around the time when digital marketing was still very new, but I was pretty interested in it, and I was an early customer of people selling info products. I didn't even know that's what it was back then. And
Right.
then some of those people started to kind of spill the beans on their business, and I thought, oh wow, there's something here. This is interesting. But in my marketing classes, they weren't talking anything about that. It was very, very outdated. And I thought, well, I'm really not learning anything new like I am online. So, and I thought, economics, okay, if I just learn how the business world works, how the economy works, well, that would be more useful for me. And maybe that will help me be more successful. So that was honestly what led me there.
Okay. What you described is actually not unusual. Digital marketing, of all the digital marketers I know, I don't think I know one that actually went to university to do a digital marketing degree. They are almost all self-taught and learnt by doing. And you've just, I remember looking at some, and you talk to anyone who says, well, I did a marketing degree and digital marketing was like, that part of it, so it's, your story just reflects what I've seen over the last decade plus. So you did your degree, but then you're interested in marketing, but you didn't take that route initially. How did that happen?
No, so towards the end of I was finishing up college. So again, I always wanted to just be an entrepreneur, but I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And just a random turn of events happened where I had an opportunity to go into the oil field and be what's called a landman, which is really just kind of helping the oil companies handle all of the legal stuff they have to do to lease the land and get a drilling program going. And there was just kind of like a gap in the market where I found an opportunity, kind of worked my way in, and I had a good gig going. But eventually, that all sort of came to an end. The oil market changed, and I knew, okay, I'm going to need to make a change. I don't want to be in this industry forever, and that's when I decided to look at, okay, what can I do to get into the marketing world?
Yep. So what did you do? What did you observe? Was it a friend, a book, just reading online?
So yeah, I was just there were podcasts were still pretty new. I was listening to podcasts. I was just doing some research on Google and looking at, okay, should I get into paid advertising or creating websites, or what's the angle? What should I do? And I kept something that kept jumping out at me was copywriting. I always enjoyed writing. I noticed that people spoke very highly about how that skill set transferred to. I noticed that whenever people would talk about you need to have a great website, you had to have great copy, and for your advertising, you have to have great copy. And it seemed like there was this silver lining of, well, you always have to have great copy.
Yep.
And I know also just happened to notice that a lot of random successful CEOs and founders had a background in copywriting. I just kept finding this over and over. So I was like, okay, I got to look into this. And I instantly just thought, okay, I really liked it. I was drawn to it. I found that, there's a lot of, I always had an interest in human behavior and psychology, and I noticed that okay, there's a lot you can do here for exploring the psychology of why people make buying decisions and how you can guide those decisions using copywriting. And so I really just self-taught, looking up stuff online, obsessively reading blogs, watching YouTube videos, whatever I could, reading books, whatever I could get my hands on. And I just signed up for all the different freelancer websites that were available at the time,
Mm.
and desperately trying to get my first client.
Right. Okay. So how'd you get your first client?
So the first client was a guy. He had a marketing agency that he was starting, and he needed copy for his site. And I had started just doing some blogging on my own because I figured, well, let's just start putting content out there. So I had some samples I could send them of, like, they weren't from a paying client, but they were writing samples at least, and they
Yeah.
were totally unrelated. But I also, my rate was extremely cheap at the time, so he was like, okay, whatever, let's take a chance. And he ended up, loving the copy I put together, and that led to a couple more projects from him, but it also led to a recommendation and the start of a portfolio that I could use to get other clients.
Right. So you started a blog. When did you start the blog?
I started several blogs. I actually had done that in college, like, because I was always interested in this digital marketing thing. I just always, even whenever I started to get into the oil industry, I knew that that was going to be the thing right at the end. I started this random blog about alternative energy, and it never went anywhere. But I just always had this, like, need to put stuff out there, and I just was just trying to get my feet wet in anything related to digital marketing.
So was part of doing the blogging and the writing, was it to learn? Was that part of the motivation? In other words, let's write about energy, and because I'm really interested in it, so let's write about it because I found writing for me sorry, is where I need to distill complex ideas and try and make them as simple as possible for other people to understand. Is that part of what motivated you?
That was a big part of it for me. It was, learning, not only just learning the subject matter, but learning about blogging itself. And
Yeah,
just thinking, like, okay, if I want to learn about blogging, I can read a million blogs about it, or I could just try and start one and
yeah,
go through the trial and error. And that's how I like to learn, is just to just try the thing and not really have expectations necessarily about where it's going to go. Just try it and see what happens.
yeah. I think especially in this fast-moving world, where a lot of the institutional learning we've had in the past, or we have, um, the only way you can go and learn something is by doing it, and then there is so much information online, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, I've everything I've learned since then has been online. I mean, obviously, sometimes through hiring coaches and consultants, things like that, but people I found online. They weren't people I found in my local network or at my college.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the internet that excited me way back in early, well, mid 1990s. I said I no longer have to go to the library to get information.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That was huge to me. Like, that
yeah,
was the fact that there was just unlimited access. When Wikipedia was still new, and this is
yeah,
back when people would really bash it. I mean, I would just go on these deep rabbit holes of, you've got the tabs open all down your browser because one thing leads to another. And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I've found that because the search engines were so bad in the 1990s that it took you to page 20 to find something useful.
Yeah, but you've dominated the search engines, because I remember for a long time, because I remember when I was doing ghostwriting for inbound marketing agencies, and when I'd be creating materials that were really targeted towards CMOs,
Yeah,
I used to come across your blogs all the time.
yeah. Well, I my secret source on doing that was basically just blunt force trauma. I created so much content um, that I managed to rank, and I started it. So one of the things that actually initiated me to start the blog was HubSpot, which you've done a certification with, and that was in
Mhm.
like 2008, 2009, and they used to have this website grader tool, and I became obsessed with it. So I just wanted to get my grading up. And then I just started writing like a madman, and so I was sort of at the peak. I started during the real trend of blogging back in 2008. So blogging peaked actually 2010 if you go and look at Google Trends. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah, you
interesting that you,
always were
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. So for me, I was obsessed about ranking back in 2009-10, and I was on a mission from God, as they say in the Blues Brothers. Um, so yeah, but it's interesting to hear that I was ranking well for that. But because what I love about ranking with SEO is it's free traffic.
Yeah. High value traffic too. A
Yeah,
lot of times it's some of the most valuable traffic a business can get.
yeah, that's right. So it's fascinating, but it took me a while to get onto email marketing because I wasn't that technical and setting up an email funnel and everything else, and a sequence was a bit complicated for my non-technical skills. So so all right, so you discovered you want to get back into digital. You got your first client. So what happened from there?
So from there, I was just trying to learn as much as I could. I was taking on any project that people would give me. So originally I was doing a lot of blogging. So I worked with one of the bigger HubSpot agencies at the time. So I was doing ghostwriting for and they were trying to be the top ranked agency, and they accomplished that for pretty much all of the inbound marketing related search terms. And that's where I would keep stumbling upon your stuff
Right,
because every search term you were there somewhere on the first page. And but then I also was doing. I started getting into more sales copy, so writing the copy for people's websites and product descriptions, that kind of stuff. And then that led to email marketing and even writing copy for ads. But email marketing was the one where I liked it because writing the copy for a website a lot of times is great, but it's a one-off project,
yeah,
and a lot of times, especially if it's a newer business, you don't get the satisfaction of seeing real results, of seeing them, drive sales, because it's a new business, it's a new website. There's not a whole lot going on yet, and yeah, you made it look good, but with email marketing, I liked that satisfaction of sending out emails and it immediately they get sales for their business, and seeing that impact right away.
yeah, yeah. That's what I love about email marketing as well is that um, it's direct response marketing, which
Mm-hmm.
means that you see a response, or you don't see one if you're doing it badly. But if you're doing it well, it's you see that response, and you turn that you know attention into a lead, and then you can turn that lead into a sale. And whereas SEO or search engine optimization is a long game. It's
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So ranking your website for certain terms is you've just got to go, okay, let's settle in for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and then it's also usually a different sales process where you could put all this effort into making these really great blogs, but then it's just a longer sales cycle for the B2B side of things, where then they're generating leads, but then they have a whole sales process. And is their sales team very good? Are they actually closing these leads? And it's just a long time to get that gratification of the results.
Yeah, exactly. And so I essentially content is the secret foundation or secret source, not secret source, but the foundation of any good, being ranking on the first page of Google. And the reason it takes so long is because Google's algorithm will rank you according to how many inbound links you've got and also the quality of those links. I think that's still very much entrenched in the algorithms that they never reveal but only hint at. So,
Mm-hmm.
and just to get people to link to your site is just a slow drip game. It's really, and your content's got to be good. People, I want to link to that because that's such a good piece of content. So, yeah, I fell in love with content when I read HubSpot's blog back in 2008, and read David Meerman. I don't know if you read David Meerman Scott's book, The New Rules of Marketing and PR, at all. Have you read that?
I did read that one back in the day. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was one that's sort of like the Bible of inbound marketing, I think, in the day, wasn't it? Back in 2000. I think he wrote it in 2007 or something like that. Um, but
And are they the ones who coined? Didn't Because I think
HubSpot.
someone else coined, oh, HubSpot coined inbound marketing.
Yeah, well, it's either
Okay.
him or David or someone close to that sort of, I suppose, pioneers in that space. But
Hmm.
because inbound marketing sort of got that was Hubs. I think HubSpot's term they used all the time.
Yep.
And what I loved about inbound marketing and content marketing, that's become more the popular term today, is that I was used to be a salesperson, right? And so my way of getting a client, because this is more B2B, not B2C, of course, but it was about knocking on doors. It was about cold calling, and
Hmm.
I and I. If anyone says they love cold calling, I will call them out. I think they're lying, frankly, um,
Uh-huh.
because you've got to deal with rejection every call, almost, right? And it's a
Yeah.
numbers game, and it's relentless, and it doesn't scale. So when I saw inbound marketing, I said, oh, if you create content, you can attract customers and get sales that way. And went, that sounded like Nirvana to me. So because of my sales background, inbound marketing really spoke to me.
Yeah, see, it's interesting because what really got me was similar reasons, but it was because I was a consumer of blogs and I liked the fact that I could go read blogs from a company before buying something from them, and it made me want to buy from them. So it worked on me, and I realized, again, like the difference between everyone hates getting a cold call,
Yeah,
but if there's a piece of content that you enjoy, we love content. That's why we listen to the music and watch the movies and everything that we do. So if you can consume something you enjoy first, it's a lot easier to then want to buy from them.
yeah. And content builds, like you said, credibility and trust. So,
Definitely.
yeah. So that's what I loved about it was that eventually people said, well, there's no decision to buy from you because I've been reading your blog for the last 12 months or whatever. Um, it just, you're already trusted, you're already credible. And so inbound marketing was just music to my ears back in 2008, 2009. That's one of the major reasons I started the blog, actually, was HubSpot and Dave Meerman Scott, and a little push by Tim Ferriss about the opportunities as a digital entrepreneur. So, all right, so let's have a little look at. So you sort of ended up being in the digital marketing space and niche with email marketing for e-commerce. So tell us about if you're talking to a client, what's your sort of approach with them to produce an effective marketing campaign built around email for an e-commerce store?
So the first thing with any business, no matter what, always starts with understanding their customers. So that's the to me, and again, I think that because I had a background in blogging and all of that, there was so much emphasis on the research that went into the copy before it was written that I carried that over, and I have my team do that. Where again, we have to first understand what's driving this customer, what situation are they in as it relates to the products. Is this something that enhances their lifestyle? Is this something that's a need? um, and then really understanding like all the classic stuff of doing buyer persona work of just their wants, fears, needs, concerns, all that kind of stuff. um, but also I like to have a reason to show up in the inbox. So it's looking at, okay, why would they care that we're emailing them, and then taking an angle of the content. So it's not just, I mean, you can do it as simply as just putting a photo and a line of copy and a buy now button, which you see a lot of e-commerce businesses do. And yes, that, I mean, they do get some sales, but that's not really a great email to receive for most people. So I like to focus on, maybe if you've got, let's say you've got 10 particular benefits for that product. I like to go deep into one benefit for that one email. So now we've totally convinced them
Yep.
of this one thing. Because what I find is that with pretty much all of us, there's a certain number of reasons why you would buy a particular product, but there's going to be maybe 1 to 3 that really move the needle for you, and the others you don't really care about, or you just kind of see it as nice to have.
Yep.
And whenever you go deep into one specific thing, now you've pulled those people who were that was the thing for them to get them off the fence. You've pulled them out of the email list. And then now if you follow up later with another email where you go deep into another benefit, now you've kind of got those people to show raise their hand by clicking through and then even hopefully purchasing to show that, oh, okay, that was the thing that they really cared about. And over time, you start to even learn even more about your customers, because if you go deep into a particular benefit and no one clicks and no one buys, you think, oh, you've realized, okay, that's not a driving force for them.
Yeah. So that raises the very valid point of the importance of testing, isn't it?
Yeah, A/B. There's a lot you can do in A/B testing with specifically with e-commerce businesses, because you don't have the challenge with B2B is you have the CRM, you have to have the personal interactions between the salesperson and the lead, versus if everything is done with Klaviyo and Shopify, every action is recorded. So you know whenever they clicked, you know if they added something to cart, but they didn't actually complete the purchase. You have all that data. And not only that, but like you said, A/B testing. So we can do A/B testing for all the campaigns that we send out, but we can also have active A/B tests running at all times on all of the automated emails, and then we just update those every month. So that allows all of the automated emails to continually improve over time.
Yeah. It is, and that's sort of opens up the other um, line of conversation, which I'd be interested in your thoughts on, is that I was interviewing Alan Dibb, who wrote the one-page marketing plan. He's an Aussie from Melbourne, had a couple of successful businesses, exited those, and he said that marketing is not anything magical. It's really just a process.
Yeah, no, I agree. It really is. And I look at, okay, if a person is, let's say on one end of the spectrum, you have someone who doesn't know anything about your product or service. Maybe they don't even know it exists. And then you have someone who's a diehard loyalist. They absolutely love everything about you. And then you think, okay, what are the big steps to get them from one end to the other?
Mm,
There are usually some big steps, and then within those big steps, there's a whole lot of little smaller things of ways that you can educate and inspire and entertain to move them along. So it really is a process of just, educating them and getting them convinced, that whether it's convinced about your company or you, or convinced about the particular product, but it is a process that you can just move them along gradually.
yeah. And I think it's important for people to understand if they're going to start, whether it's a side hustle or whether they want to start a business and grow it, that really they not only need to enjoy what they're doing, which will maintain them on the long journey, because it's going to be a long journey, is they've got to not only fall in love with what they do, they've also got to fall in love with the process.
Yeah, definitely, because it's not all going to be fun at all times.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you got to be curious about, will this process work? So even I think it was even I'm just trying to think. George Lucas was interviewed on his ranch, and he said that uh, he loves the process of filmmaking, not just film. So, in other words, he enjoys everything from the idea to the screenwriting through to production through to launch, and it's making a successful film is a process.
It definitely is. And I find that, again, like you said, you kind of have to enjoy it, because what's going to happen is a lot of times people find a process that works and they only stick with that, but they don't know how to go beyond that. So
Yep.
obviously we have certain strategies and we have certain systems that we can see repeated success, because we just have, they've worked so many times for past clients. But
Mm.
you're always going to have that random client or that random business where it's not working like it used to. And you have to be willing to just scrap everything, and a lot of times just make up something. And you have to be unafraid to, like, okay, I don't know I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to rely on my strategies and the things I've done in the past, and let's just try this very new thing. And sometimes you'll be rewarded, and other times it will fall flat, and then you have to start over and do that again. And it's on you to, again, just get back into the process, do it again, have a good attitude. And because if you don't, then you just will never solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to understand that failure is actually part of success.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
And everyone, look, we look at people like Steve Jobs and that, we're going, oh, he was enormously successful. But what you don't understand until you read his story was he had enormous failures
Yeah, he
and
had
many,
enormous failures.
and many.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some of the tools you need to help you succeed with your clients? And certainly in this modern day and age, the tools we have at our hand that are in the cloud, in other words, they're available anywhere, cheap to use, sometimes even free. What are some of your tools that you use that you think are really, really important? And you've mentioned a couple. So what are the sort of like suite of tools that you think are important to be a successful email marketer, and just high level?
Yeah. So the main tool we use is Klaviyo, which is an email service provider that caters towards e-commerce businesses it works best for businesses that are using Shopify, where their site is built on Shopify. It also works well with businesses using WooCommerce because the integration is very clean and it allows you to create automated emails at every step of the sales process. So if someone goes and looks at a particular product, but they don't even add it to cart, you can surprise them with an email talking about that product that you've now seen that they're interested in. And you can do that at every step of the sales process. So we really prefer if businesses are using Shopify or WooCommerce because it allows us to do so much more with Klaviyo. And beyond that, other things are just more of honestly nice to have. So there's apps you can get for Shopify. But really I mean, our team, we have tools we use for, project management and email design, that kind of stuff. But the main tool is Klaviyo.
So what are some of the tools you use for teamwork and collaboration? Because everyone says, everyone looks at an entrepreneur and sees a CEO or a founder and thinks that they're they're doing everything. But in fact, a good CEO founder is just quite often the conductor and a strategic guy or person. So, what are some of the tools that help you collaborate in this digital world? Because I wouldn't mind betting that you have quite a remote team.
Yes, yeah. So our team is remote. We use Slack for communication. We use ClickUp for project management, and we use Google Docs for storing a lot of the assets and files that we share with our clients.
Right. Yeah, we use Slack. We've moved to that recently. Trello's our collaborative tool, but
Okay.
um, so it's what I think a lot of people from a distance don't realize until they become a digital entrepreneur. And typically, most entrepreneurs are digital these days um, because you've got to get used to it. Is that the tools now are just amazing. We started using Trello 2 years ago, and it changed my life as an entrepreneur. It just instead of trying to do project management via email or phone calls, then emails so it gets spam and lost in inboxes and overwhelm. So we moved to Slack and added that to Trello as part of our more instant messaging. But we do use Google Docs as well, and what I love about Google Docs is that you don't have to copy and send files, attachments. It's just in the cloud. And it's just so easy to use. I use it for the podcast. It's just, yeah. The tools we have today compared to only 8, 9 years ago, amazing.
Oh yeah, and the capability, it's actually they're pretty complicated, actually. I mean, they can be
Yeah,
simple, but there's so much you can get out of them. So, for
yeah,
example, and I used to be very unorganized. It was all email and Google Docs was how I was
yeah.
organizing things and doing all communication through email for the most part, which it doesn't last, right? It
No,
doesn't
it doesn't
scale.
scale.
Yeah.
That's right.
Um, so getting to Slack and then getting into something like ClickUp was a major step up. But then I actually hired a consultant who specializes in ClickUp to help me figure out how to use ClickUp because it was so capable. And I mean, I could have taken the time to go through all of the tutorials, obviously, but it's a lot. It's just that alone was more time than the whole project management. So we got someone in. She got us set up, got our systems refined. She created trainings for us, That was a huge help. And another tool I forgot to mention, it's been very helpful over the last couple of years, and a lot of people have given me a lot of great feedback on this, is Loom. So
Yes.
it allows, if you have you used that?
But team uses some. I haven't used it a lot, but yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah. So that's amazing for like, let's just say I need to give feedback on an email design from our graphic designer, and I could just pull up a Loom instead of having to try to, make an email of all my notes or whatever. I can pull up a Loom and say, hey, can you change this thing here, and can you tweak the color and move this? And I'm just showing them on my screen with my mouse on a quick video. Then I shoot them a link. I don't even have to download the video or anything. It just, it stores it in the cloud, kind of like Google Docs. Just give them a link to the video, and then it's really great for giving feedback whenever you need a visual aid.
yeah, exactly. And not only that, documenting processes.
Hmm. That's the other thing we use it for.
Yeah, and that's a long journey if you need to start from scratch to do it. And uh, I so my senior editor I had for about 7 years left a few months ago, or a couple of months ago, and so I said, well, how are we going to transition? And hats off to him. Um, we talked about it, and he said, "Oh, what I'll do is I'll just document everything I do via video." So
That
when the new editor starts, and they started, within a week or two, and transitioned over the 2 or 3 weeks, you know what? It was pretty close to painless because of what number one, what he did, number two, the use of video to document processes.
Yeah, it really helps. And you can leave comments on the Loom video, so you
Yes.
can have a conversation there if that's ever necessary. But yeah, it's just compared to screenshots and long text documents, it's just night and day
Yeah.
better.
See, I'm old school. I love writing, and I can read a lot faster than watch a video. So for me, I find it frustrating because I can read 1,000 words a minute or something. So to watch a half-hour video, I can read something in like 3 or 4 minutes. So uh, it, but for what you're doing for process and everything else, and documenting video, short videos, documenting with a screen video what you're doing, it's just I I'm just amazed looking back in reflection how far we've come in just 10 years. And it's also driven by the fact not only the technology, well, the underlying technology is we now have a lot faster internet.
Hmm.
Because video used to be so, didn't work well when we had slow internet. So it's like the productivity has been driven by the intersection of technologies, not one technology.
No, yeah, I mean that's completely right. I mean every software you use now is faster and more powerful, so it's just like you get that incremental boost, but with every little thing you're doing.
Yeah. And I think I was reading something about as that workers have become are 700% more productive in the last 100 years than they were back in the early 1900s. I think in the last 10 years that the productivity has increased, especially in the digital entrepreneur space and other spaces, because it's just so much easier to scale as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, all right, back to email marketing. We got distracted by tools and technology a bit there. Um, so, what in terms of email marketing, what are some really good practices that you would recommend to anyone that are top of your list?
So one thing that I don't think people give enough attention to that can make a huge difference is segmentation. So, and this is going to be, I mean, this really, you can do this. It's just going to depend on what tool you have. So if you're using MailChimp, you're not going to be able to do this. But if you're using HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo, those kind of tools, you'll get to do more of this. But segmentation is just taking your whole email list and breaking it down into smaller groups of people based around certain parameters you set. So you can have it be where you have people interested in a particular product, or it could be you could break them down by customer life cycle. So you have leads and you have one-time buyers and you have repeat buyers and VIP buyers. Another good starting point would be to create engagement groups. So you can have what's called like a 30-day engaged segment, which means that they have, and you can change the rules based on your preferences for what you define as engagement. But we would typically do something like someone who has opened or clicked an email or visited the site in the last 30 days. And then you can create that for different time frames. So you could go 30, 60, 90, and so on. And the thinking with this engagement based segment is that the people who are the most engaged usually want more of your emails. And the people who are less engaged, they've obviously stopped engaging. So they want fewer emails. So you're better off long term to exclude them more often and only email them when you have something really exciting like a new product launch or a big holiday sale or something.
Yep.
And don't keep emailing them on the weekly emails, because you'll get them burnt out to where they just ignore you no matter what you send. Whereas if you give them a little break, then it's easier to get them to come back when you have something exciting for them.
Right. That's very interesting, actually. Yeah, it's engagement's very, very important, and like you mentioned, segmenting is you want to be sending the right content to the right segment, because then that will drive engagement. So let's. The other thing that I'm intrigued in is your approach to, let's say, and this is a very important thing, because you need to have people on an email list. So how do you build an email list effectively? What are some of your top tactics there?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, all the classic stuff still works, having some sort of lead magnet. So in the e-commerce space, these days it's most commonly, it's going to sound so simple, a pop-up that offers somewhere between 10 to 20% off their first purchase. That's what, if you go to the majority of these consumer facing e-commerce brands, that's what most of them are doing. But you can get more creative, and a lot of them are doing now quiz funnels. So
Yes.
that first offer is a quiz where it helps you really get a better understanding of which particular product would be best for you, is usually the type of quiz. There's a company called Pros that does this really well. So it's, getting a custom skincare plan or a custom hair. I believe it's actually hair care with them. And then that allows you to then get them into that welcome series, where now you're constantly talking about this product that's specifically formulated for them. So that's a really great way. Another thing you can do would be asking for their birthday and getting them to opt in that way, and surprising them with a birthday gift. So there's different ways to get creative, but all the classics, especially in the B2B, like the downloads, free trainings in the B2B, so free on-demand video trainings, I think are probably, a lot of people probably like that more now than the free PDF. But you got to have something. You got to give them, the most important thing is just give them a reason. Like, no one wants to sign up for an email list anymore just for the sake of signing up for an email list. That's just not that no one,
Exactly.
that's not interesting to anyone.
Yeah. Yep. So basically, you just got to provide a soft bribe, really.
Yeah, exactly. And the more enticing it is, the more signups you're going to get. And you can test that. So as with your software, you can test on your opt-in form, you can test your offer and see what it, like, if you don't want to give as big of a discount, you can test the different discounts against each other.
Yeah, exactly. One of the big challenges for email marketers as well is basically trying to make sure you keep them engaged. And you've mentioned term engagement before, and we've talked a little bit about it. So, because a lot of the email marketing platforms will say, well, no one's opened it in 90 days, and you need to do this to make sure, otherwise, we're going to mark you down as an email as an email user. How do you manage that in terms of not only grow? So you grow the list is one thing. We've just talked about that. How do you make sure that the list doesn't lose from churn?
Okay, so part of it is going to be using segmentation, like I mentioned before. So that should help on the front end, because it's like you mentioned, it's easier to create email content that's more catered to that particular segment. So it's just, now again, some people they're just going to stop opening. There's nothing you can do, but you're giving yourself a better chance of showing up with a better reason to show up in their inbox when you do that.
Yep.
Now, but there are going to be some people who just stop opening for, a variety of reasons. And what we usually do is we have automated sequences
Yeah.
set up to where once they hit a certain time threshold, then we try to re-engage them. So it could be as simple as just asking them if they want to continue getting emails. It could be a surprise offer. So there's different ways you can take it. You can go more nurturing, or you can go more customer win back with like
Yeah.
a surprise coupon or something.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, because that's a real challenge, and I think some of the platforms uh, we've used Infusionsoft for a long time, and now we're moving more to Active Campaign, and we're finding the open rates on Active Campaign are much better. It seems that Infusionsoft, and that's the other challenge too with email, is that despite best intentions of every inbox, whether it's Microsoft's or whether it's Gmail or whatever, is that emails will turn up in spam and trash. Even Google's reminders and information, like your YouTube ads are now running, goes to my trash. And this is
Mm-hmm.
their own platform.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. So how do you make sure that they don't end up in spam and trash?
Okay, so and the inboxes have gotten a lot more sensitive about this over
They
the
have.
last few years. So this is actually a big deal. Um, and it's going to go back to, I know I keep stressing this, but another reason why segmentation and really being thoughtful about the content of your emails and trying to make it interesting and creating emails that people want to receive is because you do want to maintain good performance metrics. So you want healthy open and click rates, because what will happen, and that's also why I say don't just email your whole list every time, because you get all those unengaged people who don't open at all, don't click. And let's say they're Gmail users and they're Hotmail users. Gmail and Hotmail look at that and they say, oh, okay, well, people don't want this company's email. So then it's just, we don't really know what happens in the algorithm, but the odds now are higher that they're going to push you to promotions and spam. So the biggest thing you can do is preventative, is if you are emailing segments where your performance metrics are starting to fall, tighten up that segment a little bit. So where you're sending to a little bit fewer people who are more engaged,
Mm.
and that way you can maintain those healthy engagement metrics that the inboxes want to see, and that will prevent you from. Now, of course, there's always going to be the random email, like you said, but that will prevent you from dealing with that issue in a major way.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So to get people to open your email and then read it, number one, you've got to have a really good headline, don't you? And then,
Yeah.
and then number two, the first line of the email then also becomes important. And I love this by, I think it was just trying to remember what copywriter was. Now I can't remember who it was, but the job of your first sentence is to get people to read the second sentence, and after that, the job of the second sentence is to get people to read the third sentence. So basically, you are drawing people into your content, to your email. Now, I've seen some email tactics recently done by Hustle and Trends, same company, now owned by HubSpot, that they use three different ideas in a headline. Have you seen that done before?
You mean where they've got, so let's say they're pushing three different products, but all in one subject line?
Yeah, or just three different types of content.
Yeah, I have noticed people doing that where they just try to, I think, fit a little too much into one subject line, right?
Yeah.
I noticed that especially with like the bigger brands, like think of an Old Navy or something, for example, where they're really hammering their email list very hard.
Yeah.
And, a lot of their subject lines it's like they'll throw in three products in there, and typically with direct response, you want to keep people focused on one thing. Like you said, the subject line gets them to open, the first line gets them to read the next line, and then you just kind of work them down to that CTA.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So I was interested in your thoughts on that because I've seen it done, and it could be right. It's more a blunt force email, isn't it? Or in other words, they're not really doing segmentation. They're talking to an entire church rather than groups. Rather than subcommittees.
Yeah, that's usually what I see with that. And then there are times though, like I read some business newsletters that are great. Like Morning Brew is one. There's one called The Hustle, and they're going to mention a few of the headlines at least in the preview text. Usually not in the subject line though, in the preview text. So
Yeah.
you kind of get an idea of like the articles that you're going to be reading about. So that's where it makes sense. But actually, come to think of it, they don't ever do that in the subject line. The subject line is always a short, curiosity driven subject line. So even
Yeah,
that's not a great example.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, it's just fun to watch what's different brands, different whether it's B2C, B2, well, it doesn't matter, but how they're actually trying to get people to open because we live in such a noisy world, and the job of attention, it's getting attention is just getting harder and harder. I remember when I started, um, and this extends to social media, extends to emails, is that the job of getting people to click is because it's just content fatigue. Like we're just overwhelmed.
Yeah, the competition is insane, and the type of content has moved so much more to short form where it's just we're all being trained to have a shorter attention span, and we're trained to always have this feeling of more options no matter whether you're scrolling social media or you're scrolling your inbox.
Yeah. And I saw an acronym a few months ago, TLDR, and I went, that looks like to me like, is that a tech error? And I just like, is it just like something happened, when they wrote the email and it appears at the top of their blog or whatever, top of their email, and going, well, I discovered I actually had to Google the acronym. TLDR means too long, didn't read.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, right, okay. So, yeah. And guess what? We have TikTok that basically rose to fame because of a 15-second uh, video done to music.
Yeah, I don't know if have you ever spent much time on TikTok?
No, I haven't. I, I've seen some of the videos, and yes, it's very, very engaging and very addictive. Um, but the numbers on TikTok now compared to Facebook and Instagram is like insane. And I think Facebook and Instagram have got a little bit of work cut out for them, frankly.
Yeah, yeah, I was shocked because I read something at the beginning of this year, I believe, that there was more traffic on TikTok than through Google. I thought there's no way. How could that
Right,
possibly be? I believe it was a certain like I think it was within a certain generation though.
right.
But I noticed I had avoided TikTok for a long time, and then I finally was like, okay, let me just see what this is all about. I mean, I'm a marketer. I have to kind of I have to know it. I have to know what's going on here at
Yeah,
least. And I was shocked. I mean, I was the first time just scrolling. I remember telling my wife that, okay, you can feel it addicting your brain. You can feel it making you want to
yes,
keep scrolling to the next thing, and you can also feel your attention span shrinking. Like after 15 minutes, it's powerful actually.
yeah. Well, I think they've used AI machine learning um, to actually help them do it. And so and I think they're ahead of the game compared to, even though Facebook's got incredibly deep pockets. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. So over time, and then TikTok is more a B2C environment, so it must be good for e-commerce if done well.
Yeah, I mean, right now or for organic traffic, this is probably it's if a business wants to just get started somewhere on a low budget, like if they're willing to create the content themselves, is probably the fastest traction they can get right now.
Yeah. And that's what used to be great about Twitter and social media back in 2013, 14, until the algorithm started creeping in for pay to play.
Hmm.
So, yeah, and a lot of the newer platforms, such as TikTok, and it's not new, it's been around, what, I think 5 years now. Um, so, yes, it's great for organic. And I do love organic because one of the things that excited me about social media and Google search engines back in 2008, 2009 was you could earn attention by creating great content and then sharing it.
Hmm.
Whereas today, the because that was great, because before you had to pay for attention by a newspaper or a radio or TV, and so you were fighting the media moguls. What's happened since then is we had this like window of opportunity for organic. We still have it with TikTok and others. It's still there, but where the window of opportunity to get attention organically, that just we flipped from one type of media mogul to another. It was just so.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's because I that to me is what's been disappointing with Google was, we were talking earlier about how just the access to information, and I loved it back in the day when the best, truly the best content just always rose to the top on Google. And now Google has become so much more manufactured, and it's so much more, sponsored. Even if it's not actually an ad, it's it's like the big corporate sites. They get the top rankings more often than not, and a lot of the blogs sharing things from personal experience, that to me were a lot of the more interesting content, and more unique, take on things. Those used to rise to the top, and now you just can't find them.
I totally agree with you. I think what excited me, yeah, 14 years ago now, was that I love the democratization of attention and content, Google and social. And then, but now instead of democratization, we have corporatization. That's all about the dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And and the other thing that I really don't like what Google's doing too, on top of ads, and is the snippets. The snippets are designed for them to keep you on the page rather than going to the source of the content. So the creator of the content actually doesn't get the attention.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you can click through to it, but the snippet is really Google's way of stealing content from the source.
That's, I actually never thought about that, but that is very interesting. And now that you say that, I just think about how many times I've Googled something and I didn't click through because I saw just enough from the snippet.
Yep. So I wrote a piece about that about a month ago. It was Google stealing your content.
Yeah, they have done a lot more of that. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that makes the SEO search engine game a bit tougher. So anyway, we've digressed into philosophical discussions about the particular state of play with digital marketing, especially. So just to wrap it up, Kyle, what are some of the top tips if you want to succeed at email marketing? Just two or three, whatever you think are the most important to leave for our listeners and viewers.
Yeah. So most important thing is to really do your research on the people you're emailing. I really believe it's more important who you're emailing to rather than what you're emailing about. And a couple of, just big picture things is, don't email everyone in your list every single time you email. And then, use segmentation and test the email frequency. So over time, if you can send more emails, you're going to usually make more revenue, but you have to balance that with not annoying everyone because you've sent those emails to every single person on your list. So then
Yeah,
the challenge is, okay, how can we send more, but we're sending to fewer people at a time? And if you can crack that code, then you'll be able to scale email as a sales channel.
yeah. So love that. So number one, know who you're talking to, so you get the messaging right. Number two, segment who you're talking to into different buckets. And number three, don't send them too many. Make sure they keep engaged.
Yep.
Kyle, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I can see that you love what you do, and glad. Are you sort of glad that the oil industry sort of abandoned you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I never fit in. That's the thing. I just never, it was so forced, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's, this is definitely where I want to be.
that's great. Well, here's the thing I think I've learnt from life is that be careful what you wish for, and sometimes that safe job is actually not a safe job, and it can lead to a life of drudgery if you're not careful. So sometimes the worst things that happen to you in life lead to maybe the best things that can happen to you in life, and that's, I think, you've got to keep in mind. Nothing's forever, and be careful what you wish for, and because what you wish for might be the worst thing that you can end up with.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Mate, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us. It's I think it'll help a lot of people get better at email marketing. So thank you very much, and look forward to maybe catching up in the USA one day.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thanks, Kyle.